so bored. You need to walk the other way. I tell you once more. Please get out of my way. I don't want you no more. We're done here, boy. I know you think you're so fine, but you can't see it. I've been wanting to
Hello and welcome to Women Leading in Cannabis. I'm your host, Kira Reed. Thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Kathyrn-Blackwell, co-founder and CEO of Open Door Dispensaries, a national cannabis retailer franchise headquartered in Scottsdale, Arizona. Welcome to the show, Kathryn.
Thank you for having me.
With over 3 decades of experience in the quick service restaurant sector, Kathryn has built a successful reputation for elevating brands through effective e-commerce development, product innovation, and strategic communications. Her background in the franchise consumer food industry provided a strong foundation for her to transition into the cannabis space. Since establishing Open Door Dispensaries in 2020, Kathryn has integrated proven franchise strategies and merchandising practices into the dispensary brand to deliver a modern aesthetic and transform the consumer experience. Prior to entering the cannabis market, Kathryn co-founded international franchisor Kahala Corporation, which owned more than 12 brands, among them Cold Stone Creamery, Taco Time, Samurai's Sam, and others, with more than 3,500 locations operating in 23 countries. Wow, what an impressive career, Kathryn.
Thank you. It was a lot of work, but so much to be proud of.
Indeed. And with such a strong background in the corporate world, how did you get involved in the cannabis industry and why?
It was really just by seeing the need for some of those very basic and traditional franchise benefits in the cannabis industry. I was looking for a dispensary when I was up in Washington State and really just Googled marijuana dispensaries and was surprised at the diverse types of locations that showed up. I had no idea what I was going to be walking into or what kind of service I was going to get or the quality of products that I was going to see on the shelves. So it just sparked the idea. This is what I've done for 30 years. I've created brands and created an experience that consumers could rely on, and thought that the cannabis industry would benefit from that kind of a platform.
And what was your relationship with cannabis before you made a move to the industry?
So I'm not a general consumer of cannabis, but I see the need for so many people to find the products that they need in a welcoming environment and with the knowledge by the staff to help them find the products that they need. If we can help people get off of any of those prescription medicines that they are taking consistently and that are addictive and harming their lives, I think that is what I'm trying to do. I want to help people find the products that they need, and in a safe environment, in a welcoming environment, in a true retail environment where they can feel really good about shopping for the products and knowing that they're going to get the right direction that they need. That's really my goal in coming into the cannabis industry with all of the experience and that I've had in franchising.
So you're working in the retail sector of the industry, and your entry into it is retail. And I find it really interesting when retail is the entry point, because you have to learn everything about the entire supply chain. When you're growing, you don't necessarily have to understand retail other than how you get it to the retailer. But the retailer has to understand cultivation to some degree. They have to understand manufacturing and testing and transportation and distribution. What has surprised you most about the industry as you have learned all of this about the supply chain? And where do you see the most opportunity for growth?
Well, I definitely see the opportunity for growth in the retail sector. There are some phenomenal growers out there and great suppliers. And it's really about the quality testing. And that's where I'm relying on my partner Chelsea Mulligan, who spent 10 years in the industry, not only in the retail dispensary side, but she is a regular consumer for medical issues. And she knows the quality to look for. And with some of the testing that's coming on board, I think that's another huge opportunity for the industry in testing facilities and making that more accessible to some of these to these growers.
As you've gotten involved in this industry, what has surprised you the most? What did because you're coming from an arena where, you can maybe cereal, maybe tacos are a little different than ice cream, but it's pretty much the same, right? But cannabis is so different. So coming into this, what is just like, whoa, I did not expect that.
How fast the regulations change. I think that was the biggest surprise to me. To your point, in ice cream and tacos, the health departments, we know what to expect, and we know what's coming down the pipeline, and it could take years. And in the franchising industry as well, it's evolving, but not as quick as a pace as the cannabis industry. Things are changing so rapidly, and the industry is maturing so quickly that it's difficult to keep up. But there are so many great resources out there that that are helping lead. Being able to keep up on those changes, and that's one of the things that we are priding ourselves on being able to provide to our franchisees is keeping up on those regulations on a state by state basis, so that they don't have to worry about it as much. Obviously, they will be responsible for maintaining staying in compliance with their local regulations. But boy, just having somebody to be able to help you keep up on those is going to be invaluable. But boy, it's changing fast.
So tell us about franchising and what role Open Door is going to play in franchising in cannabis.
So Open Door Dispensaries is offering a turnkey solution to dispensary operations. And really what we mean by that is if you have a license and you're ready to open your dispensary, we've got your architectural plans, we've got a security company, vetted vendors across the board for security, POS, but most of all the support through that compliance that we were just discussing and the day-to-day operations. Cash management controls, inventory controls, which are so important to the bottom line. So the franchise opportunity, really franchising in general, I mean, its core function and benefit is to allow an entrepreneur to come into an industry that they may not have ever been into, whether it's restaurants, janitorial services, or cannabis, and have the confidence to be able to navigate the industry, open their doors, know that they've got the support, and know that they're in compliance, especially in cannabis, and be able to succeed in running their own business.
I have a client that she's got an ERP system. And one of her thought leadership messages is that cannabis is driving innovation in sectors where in other industries it has not. So, for instance, with an ERP system, because of the complexity of a cannabis business, you can't just take it from another industry and adapt it to cannabis. So
Correct.
You have to innovate, right? Where do you see the innovation opportunity around franchising in cannabis?
Gosh, the first thing that comes to mind is the POS systems. There's a lot of great platforms out there, but just being so unique in the cannabis industry, just being so unique with a POS system and having to track medical patients, but also being so highly regulated in bringing on those new customers and signing them onto a POS system. That and POS, and also in the marketing sector. I think we're going to see even more changes in regulations around marketing and how we can market and where we can market. That's going to be really interesting to see, not just in the text messaging and email platforms, but in other app type based platforms.
Interesting. So what is it like being a woman in the food service industry? Is it heavily male dominated? Did you have to work twice as hard to get where you're going? And how does that compare with being a woman in the cannabis industry?
So in the restaurant industry, yes, it was very male dominated. I think I had the luxury of being in a founder seat. So I had the opportunity to really support more women as they were growing in the industry and trying to progress their careers and advance their careers. And I loved working with the entrepreneurs. And I think that was my biggest joy of working through the restaurant industry. In the cannabis industry, quite honestly, I'm hoping to do the same thing. I want to support women. I think women are definitely underrepresented in the cannabis industry, but I believe that is changing. There are so many amazing women that I'm getting connected with in the industry that are changing the dynamic, and I really wholeheartedly support them. And I'm looking forward to getting even more involved with empowering women in cannabis.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit more about how your company is working to ensure that women and minorities are given an opportunity to work and grow within your company and as franchise holders.
So within our company, it's really been interesting. So Chelsea, my partner, and I, obviously female founders, did not seek out a female partner. It just happened dynamically and organically. We sought out the best architect to help us put together the floor plans and our design aesthetic. She just happened to be female. We sought out some of the top notch accounting firm. Just happened to be female founders. So it's really happened organically, but it's been really interesting that we're building our company with these strong women. And as a company, we're supporting here in Arizona, especially, but we're supporting other women in cannabis, women entrepreneurs in cannabis who are growing their businesses. There's a couple of organizations here in the Valley, and one that's named Blunt Brunch that gets female executives together on a semi-monthly basis for executive roundtables and just plain social events to get women supporting each other and build that camaraderie. And it's really been interesting. So on a side note, that's maybe something that you should pursue as well, because they're amazing, strong women. As for our franchisees, we're supporting wholeheartedly the social equity initiatives that are going on in multiple states. We're offering a discount to our social equity franchisees, 50% of the initial franchise fee, and offering some, all the additional contacts that come from being a franchisee in our system, but especially to those women and those women vendors and the contacts that we have.
That's really impressive. And how did you come to the conclusion to do a 50% off for social equity?
Well, we realized that the social equity applicants and license holders would most likely not have the type of business experience that may help them be successful with operating their dispensary. And that's what we do. That's what we're here for, is to help them be successful. So we wanted to offer them the opportunity to join the organization as a franchisee and put the funds that they have available towards actually opening their location and hiring the right people.
I really commend you on that. How do you think this is going to change your bottom line with a focus on women and social equity?
Quite honestly, I think it's going to support our bottom line. Women are going to just be, I believe women are going to be leaders in the cannabis industry, even more so than they are today. And I think maybe as an underground effort, women are really leading this industry. I think it's going to help us. I think it will just help us solidify our position as franchisors and as operators, and helping franchisees and dispensary operators navigate the complexity of this industry.
What are some misconceptions that people have about franchising? And I think what I'm looking for here is a lot of people say, hey, yeah, I want to start a franchise around my dispensary. What does that proposition really look like? What are the things that are misunderstood about it? And why should somebody consider buying into your franchise or someone else's franchise as opposed to starting a business and then building a franchise around it?
Well, it's the speed to market, quite honestly. If you're considering doing it on your own versus getting involved with an organization like ours with Open Door Dispensary, on your own, it's a learning curve. I mean, everything in cannabis is a huge learning curve, but you're still talking about a retail business. Now, there are license holders that have a lot of experience in the growing aspect or possibly even into creating products. But the retail operation is still a completely different business. Um, as I mentioned earlier, inventory controls alone could kill you. Cash controls, cash management, employee management. So getting into a franchise really helps. It provides the game plan. You have a complete playbook on all of the standard operating procedures. I mentioned the vendors that have already been vetted for their experience in the industry and the services that they provide, and even down to costs, and sometimes even the contract negotiations on what those cost discounts could be as part of an organization.
So if I'm starting a dispensary and I have, a set amount of money, if I invest in that franchise, will that get me as far or further than using that money to try and figure things out on my own? Meaning, if I have enough money and I think I can buy product, I can hire people, is the franchise cost on top of all of that? Or does the franchise cost incorporate setting all of those things up?
Well, the franchise cost, the way that we've outlined it in our franchise disclosure document, would include all of that. There is an initial franchise fee, but really where you're saving the time and the money is being put towards execution. It's not being put towards planning or trying to figure it out. Going through the process. The funds that you have available are going towards execution.
Interesting.
Is that where you were going with that question?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's, I've been around for a while now, and I tried to get a dispensary license myself many years ago, and there are lots of new ideas going around because it's a brand new industry. And listening to you today, I realized that I even have had a lot of misconceptions about the franchise opportunity. And I've always thought that it was the buying into the franchise was just a fee on top of everything else. So it's good to get some clarity on what that actually looks like.
Well, the initial franchise fee is on top of the cost to actually open the dispensary and build out the dispensary. But that is saving you so much more time, if that makes sense, and saving you so much more legwork. So the fee is separate, but you're not paying someone to go do all of that legwork, which would probably take 3 times as long. And the value of being, especially in some of these new regulated states, speed to market is going to be everything.
Yes. Speed to market in a safe and compliant way. Because here in California, we've seen multiple extinction events. And I think a lot of women who don't have the support of a bigger network either don't know what they need to know to prevent themselves from being shut down, or they get overwhelmed and don't have the support that they need. And it sounds like a franchise would be a safer bet just in terms of being able to maintain your business through the very uncertain times ahead, especially in newer states as regulations change. As you said earlier in this conversation, it feels like once a month.
Right. Right. And to your point about the ongoing support and especially in the sight of all these changing regulations, is part of being part of the franchise is having our team members go in and help you go through a mock inspection. So we're actually going through the dispensary with you almost as if it were an inspection to help point out some areas that you could be charged with going forward or cited for in the future. So trying to catch these things in the bud, before they, no pun intended, but trying to catch these things before they actually cause a problem.
Hmm. I just think that is such an invaluable set of support to have for a regulated business owner. Will you be branching out into other areas of the supply chain, or are you going to focus solely on franchising dispensaries?
Right now we're focused on the dispensary and retail model. We feel that is the place that we can be the most effective and the most helpful for license holders. Not ruling any future endeavors out, but this is where we want to focus our attention and energy right now.
What are you most excited about for Open Door Dispensaries in 2022?
Oh gosh. Besides getting multiple locations open in multiple states, really building out our educational platform. We're working with some online schools to be able to provide our franchisees and all of their staff members with some online courses that will help them just stay abreast of all of the new discoveries that are being made about marijuana in general and the ailments that it can help alleviate.
What are you most excited about legalization and what concerns you the most?
I think for me they would be one and the same, and that's the banking laws. We just need some safe banking. Too many dispensaries are really opening themselves up to really just danger with so much cash on hand. We need the federal banking to get on board.
Agreed. Absolutely. All right. Where can women find out more about you and Open Door?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. Again, I'm more than supportive of all women in cannabis. So LinkedIn is a great spot, or you can find out about Open Door Dispensaries at opendoordispensaries.com. And that's 10DOR. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Before we go, is there anything else that you want us to know about Open Door Dispensaries?
So we are launching our franchise efforts in the southern mid states, and but are open to other opportunities up in New Jersey and New York. So contact us, and we would love to talk to you about where your interest lies.
Thank you so much, Kathryn, for sharing your time and wisdom with us today. Ladies, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet joined the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, go to our brand new membership site at weicwomen.com. There you'll find lots of information on our new memberships for women working in cannabis. You can also find us on Clubhouse as WEIC, where we host AMA rooms with investors and recruiters and monthly open mics to introduce yourself to the community. WEIC is a community that provides resources, connections, events, and content to women working in cannabis in the US, Canada, and around the world where there's an interest in cannabis legalization. We welcome women who are currently working in cannabis or curious about taking a leap into the industry. Consider becoming a WEIC Woman member or WEIC Business member for benefits and access across the network. And join us again for another conversation with women leading in cannabis.